So they walk into the restaurant and Ryle's hand is wrapped up and Lily has a black eye. Under no circumstances would that couple have gone out.
Hi and welcome to Flaa Talk. I'm Kjersti Flaa, and here on my channel I talk about my good and bad experiences in Hollywood and working as an entertainment reporter. Today it's raining in LA, and so it's so dark in my little studio here because I use natural light. So I'm sorry about that. It doesn't rain here very often. Anyways, thank you guys so much for all your feedback and tips to me. I've been really enjoying reading all your emails and DMs on Instagram. You guys are so amazing. So thank you very much. Also, I wanted to remind everyone to subscribe, please, and hit the notification button if you haven't yet, so you don't miss an episode of Flaa Talk. Today I have an amazing guest with me. Her name is Rose Carlo, and she contacted me basically to tell me some stories about Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively because she used to live in their town. She also told me a story about Sarah Jessica Parker, and then we got to talk a little bit more about serious things, and that's why I wanted you guys to stay tuned for the second part of the interview, because we are talking about her experience with domestic violence and how she reacted when she read the book, when she saw the movie, and all the little things that she feel that was wrong about It Ends With Us. She also has some inspiring advice and encouragement for women that are in bad relationships and abusive relationships. So please listen to Rose. She is amazing. And I'm so proud of her for speaking out like this because that takes a lot of courage. Anyways, before we get into that, I just wanted to give a little bit of an update because I saw that Blake Lively's team is now subpoenaing, can you say that? Wants to subpoena Justin Baldoni's phone. I think this is a really desperate move from them because they don't really have much to put in that amended complaint that they just asked to get extended. I think it was yesterday or the day before because their deadline was tomorrow. And now the deadline is Tuesday, so the judge agreed to like one more day, and then it's a holiday on Monday, so they got one more day to amend their complaint, basically to answer back to Justin Baldoni and his lawsuit. And they were kind of hinting that they had like this smoking gun and that, we're gonna like come out with all this big news, which didn't really happen. And I'm thinking like, why didn't that happen earlier if you had a smoking gun? So my guess, only my guess though, is that they might have had some witnesses that they thought that they could use as to like strengthen their claims against Baldoni, and no one wants to really do it because what's in it for them? If you are on Blake Lively's team right now, you better shut down your Instagram, which is also what Colin Hoover did. As we know, she's back on Instagram and she deleted all her pictures with Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively. So I guess that says a lot about her courage. She just wants to take a step back from the drama, obviously. But she's still back. But she's back on Instagram. Her comment section is closed, so you can't give her your opinion about anything. Anyways, thank you guys so much for going to my Etsy store and buying my t-shirt. Anyways, I love it. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for all your support. But please welcome Roseanne Carlo. Hi, Rose.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Thank you for joining Flaa Talk. Thank you for reaching out to me. I was so intrigued by your stories. You have so much to tell. So yes, please tell me, because yesterday we spoke a little bit on the phone. Yes. And you told me that you were living in the same town as Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively. Yes. Back in, when was this?
So from 2016 to 2019, I lived in the Pound Ridge, Bedford area of Westchester County, New York, which is one of the most expensive counties in New York State, where I owned a small yoga and aerial yoga studio where I taught the neighborhood kids and some of the neighborhood, moms and dads. So it's a really tight-knit community, and they don't really like a lot of outsiders. I was at work one day, and someone came in, and they said, oh, Blake Lively was just in the market. I said, oh, cool. And she said, yeah, well, she got a little angry with these teenagers, like a little huffy, that these teenagers kind of made a big deal about her being in the supermarket. And I'm thinking, well, why wouldn't they? They're teenagers and
Of
you're Blake
course.
Lively. Like,
Yes.
I even get excited internally when I see stars. I try not to let it show, but it's like, oh wow, I'm really like you're something. It's you're in the
It's a
presence of
natural
something.
reaction, I think. Some
Yes.
people go up and approach people. Maybe when you're
Yes.
younger, you do that, but that's a part of being celebrity.
I think that it's a big part of it. I mean, I don't think they owe us their whole lives. Everyone deserves privacy, but if you're in a public place and someone, especially young kids, are fans and are expressing their joy at seeing you. She got huffy and complained, called the store after she left and complained about the teenagers. I literally heard it. Probably she didn't even get home to put her groceries away before everyone was like, so to any celebrities that live in Westchester County, the locals gossip and they love it. So be on your best behavior. So like I said, I had a small aerial yoga studio and I taught circus arts to more kids than adults. And I had a lot of tweens at the time. So between like 7th and 10th grade, they're outside hanging out and they see Ryan Reynolds. So they did what teenagers of that age do. Oh my God. And they got so excited and they ran up to him thinking he was going to be so cool and give them a selfie or a video or an autograph. And he said no.
Wow. He
said, that's not something to the effect of, I'm trying to remember, they burst through my studio door, like boom. Oh my God, Ro. That's what they called me, Ro. Oh my God, Ro. We just met Ryan Reynolds. I said, how cool? They said, no. I said, what happened? And they said that he basically made them feel bad for asking him for an autograph. And they were like, yeah, we're just not fans anymore now. Like, that wasn't cool.
Oh,
Tweens, like
I hate
12,
when that
13 year
happens.
olds.
Yeah, and oh my God. I
I
remember when I
know.
was a teenager, I met someone in Oslo who was there, he wasn't even a big star. He was from Sky Channel in the UK. But I was like, I could not sleep for 2 weeks after. I was so excited. That's
Yeah.
how things affect you when you're a teenager. And I can't even
Yes.
imagine, when it's someone like Ryan Reynolds that you like worship, and then he's like, no. Oh,
Right. And I mean, he did so many movies that, like, if you were that age, 12, 13, his older movies would really resonate with you at that time.
of course.
And, I mean, I've met some lovely celebrities in that area. I had actually given Emily Blunt several Pilates and yoga lessons, and she's a lovely human being. She's one of the nicest
Yeah.
people, just people, not even celebrities. She's just one of the nicest people I've
Yeah.
ever met.
I'm happy to hear that. I also feel like I've interviewed her a few times and she's always been like one of those genuine people. You feel like she's authentic. She's not like
Yeah.
putting on a fake,
No.
appearance that she's like nice just to people she needs to be nice to. And that I think that's what you see when people are actually genuine, when they're
Yes.
nice to real people or just regular people,
Yeah,
like
I
you and
mean,
me. Like I just enter their life somehow and then just like act like a normal, polite human being. And she just did a movie with Ryan Reynolds.
did she? Oh my
Yes.
goodness, that's
No,
so
last year or
funny.
something. Yeah, I remember that. And
Well,
I
she
was
mentioned that they were friends.
okay.
And I was like,
Okay.
oh, that's cool. And I know that I've seen video of like her and Blake Lively at fashion shows together. So I know that they're friends. Everyone has, I don't know if they totally live in the area all the time. I know everyone moves around. But when they're there, I believe she made it sound like, they're friends, they hang out. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. So I thought, well, she's so cool. They must be as well. And then I heard those stories and I was like, oh, well, okay.
No, not
But
cool.
no.
And you also told me it's funny because we have a few same experiences here. You told me that you were working on the set of Sex and the City. I want you to share that story, please.
Yes.
Because I've been talking about my experience with Sarah Jessica Parker and with Kim Cattrall, and it seems like you have kind of similar
Yes.
experiences than I do.
Yes. So the episode that I was on, I was in the background. I was on the episode where Carrie was the judge at the firefighters. I guess it was their like, I don't even know what you would call it, their contest. So I was very close in that scene, and it was packed with people, like, you would be in a club. And I was really, really close to where Kim Cattrall as Samantha came like pushing through to get to the front to see the firefighter that she was, loving on at the time. And they did the scene a few times. And, like I had told you yesterday, I thought I had made it. I was famous.
That's so
But
cute.
it was 20 years ago. I was very excited because I absolutely loved the show, and I wanted to be in the business at the time. So I was very much paying attention to how everything was going on. So what I noticed when, the director yelled cut was that three people separated in one way and one person stayed to the side where she already was, and that was Kim Cattrall. So what I noticed was that the other three actresses walked off to the side. They were getting their hair and makeup fixed, all of these things. But with Kim Cattrall, her assistant just came to the center of the floor and helped her change her shoes. And she was just in the middle of everyone. And they were like, Kim, you're so great. She's like, oh my God, stop. Like, thank you. And she was like talking to everyone that was in the background and giving them her time until it was time to shoot again. And no one else was. And I thought, wow, how cool.
So you felt it was kind of bad blood between
I
Kim and the
wasn't
others?
I wasn't sure who the bad one was. It felt that way. It felt like the parting of this sea. And I don't know why it was such a poignant moment to me. But when I read that Kim Cattrall said that Sarah Jessica Parker could have been nicer, was that the quote? Something like
Yeah,
that. I
yeah,
wish she would have been nicer. I went, oh, now I get it.
yeah. Yeah, I exactly. Actually, I said that in my video about Sarah Jessica Parker when I interviewed her, and I didn't remember that quote at the time, but I used exactly the same words to describe her because I was so disappointed when I interviewed her because I was a huge fan of Sex and the City. It was the reason I moved to New York. I was like, oh my God, I am going to be Carrie. I'm a freelance
Yeah.
journalist, and all these things. And then I interviewed her, and she was so dismissive of me and just like being in a totally bad mood. She wasn't rude, but she was just very like uninterested in talking to me. And I was, oh my God, I was so heartbroken. It was just like the
Mm-hmm.
worst. I was like, oh no, the show is ruined forever for me now. And I was just so, so disappointed. And then 2 years ago, I met Kim Cattrall, and she was so lovely, so
Mm-hmm.
sweet. And she's nothing like Samantha, which I also find very interesting because you feel like you know these people for so long.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
you think that they are the character, but definitely not. Anyways, you had another story with Sarah Jessica Parker, I think, that
Yes. Same
was,
episode. Same episode. So now it's very close to midnight, and I think everyone was just drained. We were on set. It was a good 16 hours
oh,
on
wow,
set. It was a long, long day.
wow.
So it was the end scene where you'll see Sarah Jessica Parker or Carrie, let's say, at the coat check. And she has a white coat, is a furry white coat, beautiful coat. And in that scene, here was the coat check lady, here was Sarah, and there was me. I was right behind her. And I'm like, oh, I'm famous in my head. I'm like, well. So I'm there, and there's a few takes. And at one point, Sarah yells out, give me my coat. And everyone started laughing, including myself with this voice and this laugh. So she turned around, and now I'm face to face with Sarah Jessica Parker. She kind of looked at me, and I think I was expressionless at this point, like, I don't know what you're looking at. And she kind of went and gave me the one up and down. And I'm like, interesting. And I kind of stood there not saying a word. And she walked off. And I don't know, a minute or two later, the director just said, you black hair, black dress, black boots. We're going to move you back here. And it was the darkest corner of the bar.
Oh my God.
I
Oh, that's
laugh.
so heartbreaking.
I laugh, but it was not the experience that made me want to go back on set as an extra.
Did you ever go back as an extra?
To all my children, yes. And they were fabulous.
Well, thank you for sharing your stories. We also spoke yesterday because you have what can I say? You have some serious things that we also wanted to
Yes.
talk about today because I think um after It Ends With Us was launched, Blake Lively was really criticized for the way she was promoting the movie,
Mhm.
and especially by domestic violence survivors. And
Yes.
you told me yesterday that you are a survivor
Yes.
and you wanted to share how you experienced just reading the book. Did you actually watch the movie?
So I I had a little reaction to the fact that there was a book at all about domestic violence that was on the bestseller list.
Hmm.
And then I had a little bit of a reaction that it was about to be a Hollywood movie. I did not think either of these things were good because I feel like it was going to diminish the real terror that people live with on a daily basis with domestic violence. And I have read excerpts from the book, different parts of it, different pieces. I had a lot of trouble reading it in full,
Hmm.
just because of my own trauma. And I've watched scenes in the movie, which I'm like, oh, cringe. No. And some of it seemed incredibly unrealistic to me.
Hmm.
But before I get into that, I do want to commend Colleen Hoover for having the courage to write it, because and have it published and have it put out there the way it was. And I think that a portion of her story touched my heart and a portion of it was romanticized.
Hmm.
And I would also like to commend Justin Baldoni for finding this, because as a man, he did a pretty good job to try and bring forward what domestic abuse is like for a woman. So, with that, though, what I felt was that the story with Lily and Atlas felt more real to me than the story of Lily and Ryle.
Hmm. Why
You
did you
know,
why did you not feel it was real?
some of the things, some of the way that both Lily and Ryle acted, some of the things that happened, some of the way the scenes were written, I don't believe living for 8 years in a very violent relationship that those things would have happened. For example, the restaurant scene.
Hmm.
So they walk into the restaurant and Ryle's hand is wrapped up and Lily has a black eye. Under no circumstances would that couple have gone out.
Hmm.
Why? Because the abuser, whether it was the man or the woman, but in this case it's the man, the abuser would manipulate the situation enough to say, we need to cancel this so that she's not seen with a black eye
Hmm.
and he's not seen with a messed up hand. Because, and I get it, they needed to do this in the movie and in the book to create the storyline that there's abuse going on, but no couple would let other people see that
Wow.
openly. I
And
know because I've hidden.
hmm.
I know because I have worn long sleeve sweaters in the summer to hide bruises. I know because I've seen my friends pull down turtlenecks in the summer to show me finger marks around their throats.
Wow. I'm so sorry to hear that. That's, oh, I can't even
And
imagine
it's
going
it's
through something like that. And I mean, I understand, I haven't touched upon this because it's hard for me to kind of put my mind
Mhm.
into what it must feel like to live with such terror.
Yes.
So I'm kind of like haven't I've been a little bit afraid,
Yeah.
to get someone on here to talk about it because I don't know I don't want to step in the wrong direction or anything. But I mean, you obviously then understand the backlash of the PR campaign behind this movie. I mean, were you surprised that there was backlash? I guess you weren't because you like,
No, not at all. There will be backlash with any kind of a sensitive subject such as this. There's backlash with people talking about my husband is a 9/11 World Trade Center first responder.
wow.
So when people try to do things with charity for that, there will be a lot of backlash sometimes because it is such a sensitive subject.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm very aware of the fact that when you touch on these subjects, you can't think internally. Even though I'm here with you speaking my thoughts and my feelings from my perspective of being a domestic violence survivor, you have to think forward.
Hmm.
You have to think, how are other people who have gone through this terror, how are they going to react to even reading a book about domestic violence? And I tried to look it up, but I didn't see anywhere that it ends with us had given a portion of their profits to any sort of domestic violence charity. But I know that Justin Baldoni through Wayfarer did give, what was it, 1% of the profits? I can't remember the
Yeah,
charity.
they were working together with an organization called No More.
Okay.
I don't know the details of the collaboration, but I know for sure that Blake Lively wasn't even meeting with them. She
Okay.
completely, disconnected from the real message of this movie on every level. So, what
Yes.
did you think when you saw her lawsuit against Baldoni,
Oh,
accusing him of sexual harassment?
with a movie about domestic violence, I just clutched fake pearls. And I don't do that often, but it's she bulldozed over domestic violence. And I do not want to diminish anyone who has gone through harassment. It's icky is the only word I can use. It has an ick factor. Men need to learn to control themselves a little bit more. But what justifies as harassment is really how you perceive it. And the
Yeah.
difference between harassment and violence is harassment might annoy you or hurt your feelings, but violence will hurt your body.
Hmm.
And when you take, my little feelings were hurt over here because of some bad press and some bad PR, and I don't want to just wait to let it blow over and I'm going to go blame somebody, but I'm supposed to be talking about domestic violence, but I'm putting what I see as kind of petty, because it seems like either, I mean, I don't know. I joked, I said maybe this was an affair gone wrong. There were some kind of feelings there. Or it just seems like, with all of the information that's coming out about her in these interviews, that she just wanted control of something. And she romanticized the character of Lily Bloom. And to say, get your girlfriends and wear your florals, but you're in a scene with a black eye.
Yeah.
I could cry. I could cry. It's very upsetting.
I
It's
told.
very upsetting because I know she said she had not been through a situation like that. And part of me wishes they would have vetted an actress and found an actress who had lived through abuse, who would have brought forward the ugly crying, the tears, the shaking, and the anxiety and the depression
Yeah.
that you live with. I didn't see any of that.
I just felt when I watched the movie, I felt like this movie, I didn't know what kind of movie it was. I didn't know anything about it beforehand. I didn't
Right,
know about
right.
the book. So I just went into it like, okay, it's a Blake Lively movie. It was a press screening before, anything had happened. And I was like halfway through when the abuse started, I was like, oh, okay, that's where we're going now. It was just such a like slap in the face. Like,
Mm,
oh, I thought this was like a romantic, almost comedy kind of. No, I thought it was very poorly. I didn't like the movie, honestly, and
I
not
heard
only
that.
because of what you're saying, but there was just like I didn't think the movie. I didn't believe it. It was a cliche. I totally
Yeah, it
agree with
from
you.
what I've seen and what I've read, oh, forgive me for saying this, but I feel like it ends with us is to domestic violence what 50 Shades of Grey was to kink.
Yeah. Ugh.
It really watered it down so much. And I, I'm watching and I'm seeing that Colleen Hoover wanted to put out a domestic violence coloring book.
I saw that. Uh,
I
I know. There's no words.
now, like, I get it because coloring is therapeutic, but are there bruises you're coloring? What's in this? If you're gonna do that, like, give us something else. Don't put the title of the book about abuse on something that's supposed to be enjoyable. That again diminishes the fear that we live with. It doesn't go away, and that's what people don't understand.
Yeah.
I knew nothing about abuse growing up. I I was not abused in my household. There was like no hate. There was our usual family spats and me with my big dreams and I can do everything on my own. I couldn't wait. So I, in my life, have not experienced abuse as a child. So where Colleen Hoover writes from her experience with Lily Bloom as a child with her parents' abuse and experiencing it, that is the part that I found believable. That is the part that I felt you could feel her soul come through with that. That's why I commend her for writing that part.
Hmm.
But the rest is romanticized and they
Yeah.
wouldn't act that way. Anyone who thought their friend was being abused, especially if he was a man and she was a woman, wouldn't follow that woman into a bathroom while the abusive man was outside.
Hmm.
You just wouldn't do that. Like, it would cause more problems for the woman being the victim. And when I saw that scene, I had my blood just stopped. I was like, that is the most dangerous thing you can ever do when a couple is out, especially if you're a man who wants to try to protect a woman from an abusive relationship. Like, my leg is shaking right now talking about this.
Wow. Thank you so much
So,
for sharing this, though. I mean, it can't be easy for you to, and I think especially like you're saying, you're being triggered by watching
mhm.
this, and especially because of the way that the material has been romanticized.
Yeah,
Uh,
it was presented in a way that I think people can digest, though.
mm. But it doesn't do anything good for domestic violence survivors. Do you think did that movie do anything to like get more awareness around it? And especially with the aftermath now of this like legal fight in public where we
Yeah.
think that, you know, Blake Lively's accusations are based on I don't know what anymore because I feel like there's so little in there that's believable. We also talked
Yeah.
yesterday a little bit about, how her coming forward with this lawsuit, how it affects, other women
Yes.
and what the Me Too movement, you also said that, you have an opinion about,
Feelings.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I may get some backlash for this, but I do have to say this because I will preface it with, like I said, I was in a violently abusive relationship for 8 years in my mid 20s to early 30s.
Oh my.
I was a shell of my former self. I still don't feel like I'm back.
Wow.
That's it. I can't explain it in any other way. So when the Me Too movement came along, I'm like, yeah, strong. This is for the women like me who had to hide in a closet, who needed safe words, who were hiding notes to people and giving doctors little notes about me. Yeah, my husband just hit me, and having them write things down in case I went missing. I mean, it was to this point. It was to the point after we got divorced, he was stalking me. So when the Me Too movement came along, I'm like, well, this is what we need. But it got Hollywoodized, in my opinion, and it jumped the shark and it started to become harassment rather than abuse.
Hmm.
Now, I'm not talking about the Harvey Weinstein stuff. That I give all of them speak out.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about, oh, this guy made an inappropriate joke on set, me too, me too. No, no, we have to understand and we have to differentiate. And maybe that's really why I'm here, is to draw the line in the sand between harassment and abuse and violence.
Hmm.
And if you're going to talk Me Too, please don't make it so trite as to catcalling and harassment in a bar and harassment at work and being made to feel uncomfortable, because there's a difference between uncomfortable and unsafe, and uncomfortable should never override unsafe.
True. Do you think that, you know, I mean, in a sense, I think that Me Too did kind of make men more aware of their behavior towards women. Do you think that, or do you think that, there was nothing really good coming out of it?
I think it's six of one, half a dozen of the other. I think that you can change only so many minds.
Yeah.
I
But
think
then,
that you can only wake up so many people to see they shouldn't act this way, and most people will never change.
yeah, and I think, like you're saying, I think a lot of women also took kind of advantage of it. I think when I remember Blake Lively back then came out and said that a makeup artist had used his finger to put lipstick on. And then I'm like, oh my God, are we putting that in the category of
Yeah.
sexual harassment? It's just like, no. And then the Amber Heard, Johnny Depp case.
Mm,
Talking
anger.
about going outside with a blue eye, by the way, I
Yeah.
remember that she went,
To was it TMZ?
yeah, I think so.
Yes, it was
Yeah.
TMZ. And they're usually very good with their sources. But again, this was at the pinnacle of the Me Too movement, where everybody was just spilling it. In my personal opinion, I wasn't sure to believe Amber Heard, only because, as old as I am, I grew up watching Johnny Depp in Hollywood. And even before blind items and gossip that you could only get from the Inquirer, it was always said that he was a good person.
Yeah.
And he was not like that. So I found it hard to believe. I was, of course, prepared to change my opinion had it been proven. But it was proven that she, in my opinion, was the more abusive person, or the full abusive person, really, in the relationship.
Yeah. I agree with you. And I think one of the things that I like, I'm not an expert, obviously, because I haven't experienced anything, but what I've been learning through, following cases throughout the years is that there's usually a pattern. So if a
Mhm.
man is abusive towards one woman, he will also be abusive to other women. It's not
Yes.
like he's ever going to stop that
Yes.
behavior unless he wants help, which I think probably most of them, I don't know, maybe they don't want to, they don't think it's anything wrong with
No.
them. And I think that's why, we see with Justin Baldoni, no one else has come forward. And that's one of the
Mm.
major reasons that I believe that, her claims are, I mean, definitely over exaggerated. Let's put it that
Yes.
way. I mean, if he
Yes.
did say she smelled good, and it was, in a situation where she said that I smell bad because I have this self tan on or
Oh,
whatever.
the body spray or whatever it was,
Yeah.
the body
I
tan.
mean, if that's like, then we're all being harassed every single day. And as women, we've all experienced situations that made us feel uncomfortable. And that's
Oh,
part of
yes.
life as a woman. It's not that we should accept it, but you can't make such a big deal out of these things.
Oh.
It's just like, and yeah, no, I don't know.
The whole thing to me now after hearing this, what was it, the Forbes Women's Summit, her
Yeah,
speech there, where she said she wants authorship. I'm like, just write something.
yeah,
Write
yeah.
something that's not already written. It's cool. Create a character. Like you've been in the business for this many years. You've definitely got some sort of creative flow, I would assume.
That is a
But
very good point. Write your own movies
yeah,
that you also
you
can
know,
direct and be, in charge of wardrobe and makeup and music.
yeah, I mean,
Produce it.
you've got a husband who's a very successful actor. You guys could put your own production company together. Did you need Wayfarer? Did you need this or this? And my only thing is that she romanticized the character of Lily Bloom so much that she wanted to be synonymous with Lily Bloom.
Mm,
Kind of how you look at Julia Louis Dreyfus and you think Elaine Bennis forever.
yeah.
Something iconic like that. And I do, on a human level, I understand that. But you can't take domestic violence and make it hearts and flowers.
No.
It's it doesn't exist.
On that
I
note, yeah.
used to hate getting flowers when I was in that relationship because he would only come home with them when he had done something terrible. So that was another thing for me. I'm like, why does her name have to be Lily Bloom and why does this have to be all floral?
Oh,
But that's my
yeah.
thing. That's me. That's not, the fault of anything. But I did find it odd that there was so much about flowers incorporated into domestic violence and what was supposed to be a message. I think it should have been much darker.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why for me too, I was like, what is this movie I'm watching? And what was the point of showing that at all? It didn't have any, and then there was a happy ending. No, I just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
Anyways.
no, we're going to be happy with the guy, boy, I really loved. I
Yeah.
mean, I get it, but
Yeah. Oh
like
my
let her be
God.
alone. And I also found it very odd. The book says that Ryle and Lily were outside the hospital when she said she wanted the divorce. In the movie, she handed him a newborn after knowing he's abusive and said she wanted a divorce. And I'm like,
Oh, no. Yeah.
I would have gone home silently and made my plans to leave with that baby, or I would have escaped from the hospital in the middle of the night, but I would never have said those words. It would have
Oh,
been too, because either it would have been a big fight or the stonewalling silence, which would have made everything much worse until you got home. And then the real manipulation started. And in reality, Lily Bloom having that baby, she probably would have stayed at least 3 years in that relationship with the manipulation until she did wake up. No one's going to look at a newborn and say, yeah, I could do this on my own. They want the help, they want the money, they want the everything. It's called financial abuse. That's why it happens.
wow. On that note, Rose, I just wanted to add so everyone knows that you have a really amazing husband now.
Yes.
That because
Yes,
I
I
think it's so
do. He's
important to say,
awesome.
for all the women out there, that there is hope and you can get out of relationships that are abusive and you can meet a really, really nice
Yes.
man. They're out there as
Yes.
well.
Choose wisely, ladies. If you
Yeah.
see the red flags, do not ignore.
Yeah. Very
Do
good
not.
advice. Thank you, Rose, so much for
Thank you so
joining me. This was
much.
so amazing and really like so many things to think about. I wish
Mhm.
they would have hired you as a consultant on that movie. Maybe
I
it would
wish
have
they would
been
have
very
too.
different. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
That's the other thing with Hollywood. Maybe this will be a little bit of a wake-up call where if you're going to bring such a tough subject, speak to real people
Yeah.
that have gone through it. We'll tell you. We're
Yeah.
willing. Everyone wants to talk. We just want the right platform because it's a
That's
difficult subject.
yeah. You also collaborated on a book. We have to mention that.
Oh,
It's
yes.
called Peace Over Pieces that people can get on Amazon.
Yes. So this is Peace Over Pieces. There is also an organization called peaceoverpieces.org. So this book was constructed and founded by a woman named Clara Baldwin. She lives out in, I forget, the Midwest somewhere. Her story is in here, much like Lily Bloom's. She grew up with abusive parents in an abusive household. So her story is the last in the book. And mine talks about this particular relationship. And my story is called the Franken BITCH, because that
Okay.
is how I viewed myself
Wow.
at the time, I thought I was a monster of sorts.
Oh my God. That's so sad.
Abuse does very strange things, but if you would like to read unfiltered stories, many of these people didn't even use their last names.
Wow.
So this is an anonymous book. I know I'm showing my face, but it's an anonymous book if you don't want to know everything about this, but I did not use my abuser's name in this. Also, this was all charity, so I donated a small portion of my story, as did all of the other very brave authors to come forward. The book costs $18. You can find it on Amazon.com. There's also merch. She's got mugs, hats, t-shirts, hoodies. All of the money goes towards helping men and women who need to escape abusive situations.
That's I
It's a
mean, that's
fantastic.
awesome.
Yes,
Yeah.
she's a
I'll leave a
lovely
link.
woman.
Yeah, I'll leave a link below
Okay.
if you guys are interested in the book and other stuff that we talked about here. You can find it there. And you also have a podcast if people want to check
Yes.
out your podcast.
Yes, it's called the Dark Entertainment Network. So I am a not a self-proclaimed conspiracy theorist, but I love conspiracy theories because I love debunking them.
Good.
I do. I also like adding my own little things in for drama, but I talk ghost stories and UFOs and dark entertainment, such as
Oh,
news in Hollywood and haunted locations. So I'm actually getting into March will be my haunted Hollywood segment coming up.
oh my God, I can't wait for that. I will
Yeah,
leave a link below as well
thank
for
you.
your YouTube channel so people can go and check out your podcast.
Thank
Thank you
you.
again so
Thank
much,
you.
Rose. You're amazing and your story
So are
is
you.
so inspiring. I'm so lucky to have you here on my show and
I
that you
just
were
thank
willing to
you
share your story.
for the opportunity for the platform, because it is very important that anybody out there who is suffering, reach out to a trusted person. Please do not leave yourself in that situation. Make your escape plans, save your money, hide what you need to hide, get a safe deposit box, put your important things in there, and do not look back.
Thank you so much to Roseanne or Rose for being on my show. I hope you guys learned a lot. I did definitely learn a lot by speaking to her. I'm so grateful that she shared her story, and I think that's one of the things that a lot of people reacted to with this movie was exactly the things she pointed out here, that it didn't seem realistic, and the way that Blake Lively was promoting it was tone deaf. Anyways, thank you guys so much for supporting Flawsome Talk. I'm so appreciative of all your support and of your tips that you're sending me. Keep them coming. I had to get some help today from Magnus to go through it because it was a lot, but you know, it's beautiful, amazing. You guys are just beautiful, and thank you so much for watching my channel, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.